Hey guys, and welcome to Dwelling Logs. My name is Bonnie, and today I want to share with you guys about the Underground to Canada curriculum that we are about to embark on. I got some very, very happy mail today. I got my curriculum from Round Homeschool. So I have the whole set here with me. I have the writing track, I have the teacher's guide, and I have all the student notebooks, all of them, from kindergarten all the way up to high school. Now this is going to be one of my last units that I paint for Gather on Homeschool. I have 2 more units that I will be contributing to, but what the problem has been is I love my job so much and I love the people I work with so much that it is competing too much with my home and my family. So I have decided not to continue painting for them. I have loved it. I have 2 more units to finish up with them. So this one is one of my last ones with my artwork in it. So I am super pumped to receive these print orders today because there's nothing like seeing it in print. So in today's video, I want to talk about this unit study. It's actually a novel unit study. So it's different than anything else that they've done. I'll explain what a novel study is. I've also pre-read the book, so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about that. I know a lot of people have been asking, can you really do this book with all the ages? So I want to give you my opinion on that. I also want to talk to you guys about print versus digital at the end of this and answer all the questions. So I am here and ready. The reason why you haven't seen very many Gather on Homeschool videos from me since about a year ago was because I was employed to them and I was like, well, I don't know, my opinion's kind of biased, and I'm totally biased. I'm in love with this curriculum. I mean, I painted for this unit, so I'm biased, okay? So this is a very biased overview. So I got my Gather on Homeschool sweatshirt on, you know, just because I'm fanning over here, and wait for it. Yep, I got my tea in the mug. Oh, it tastes so much better. Okay, let's go with the burning questions first. Everybody wants to know, can I really read this to all my kids? Okay, I'm going to let you know. I have a 2-year-old, and I have a 5-year-old, and I have a 7-year-old. We're doing pre-reader level with my 5-year-old, and we're doing early reader level with my 7-year-old. And yes, I will be reading this to my children. So underground here, insinuating the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad was a network of secret routes and safe houses established in the United States during the early to mid-19th century and used by enslaved African Americans to escape into free states and Canada. The scheme was assisted by abolitionists and others sympathetic to the cause of their escapes. So that is the era that we're dealing with, the topic that we're dealing with. If you are approaching the topic of slavery and the escape from slavery, then this book will be fine. If you're willing to talk about that subject with your 4, 5, 6-year-old, then this book will be perfect. This unit study will be fine. Okay, if you read the back of the book, it says, taken away from her mother by a ruthless slave trader, Julie Lee only has her dream of freedom left. Every day she spends huddled in the trader's cart traveling south or working on the brutal new plantation. She thinks about the land where it's possible to be free, a land where she and her friend Liza may reach someday. So when workers from the Underground Railway offer to help the 2 girls, they are ready, but the slave catchers and their dogs will soon be after them. That sounds like super suspenseful, and totally as a mom I'd be like, so are we going to learn about these dogs? And no, there is a chapter where they are traveling with two other men who are runaway slaves, and there's one chapter when Liza and Julie Lee hear the dogs and they hear yelling, so they know it's insinuated and they know that these men are captured. But it does not go into any kind of brutality. Again, it's from their perspective, just listening. It's not from the men's perspective. Julie Lee is the main character in the book, and her friend Liza is described as having scars. So you can assume that she's been whipped and beat up a lot. But again, it doesn't go into her experiences with that and her injuries. So overall, like I said, it does a really, really great job of telling the story and making sure that the reality comes through, but in a very sensitive way. The only other thing you need to know is that this book does have the N-word in it. That can be a sensitive thing for some people, but it is written in there in a way that is accurate to the era that the book is written in, that the story is in. So it's not used loosely, but it's used accurately as far as like telling the story. Okay, so what is a novel study? So Gather on Homeschool, they make a unit study style curriculum, and this specific unit study is very special because it is a mini unit, which is not one of their main units. It's one of their smaller mini units. It's 20 lessons long. But this is even special for a mini unit. This is a novel study. They've never done a novel study before, which is super exciting, which is why I wanted to hop on here right away. I'm hoping to get this video done and loading tonight so that it can be in your hands or in your faces as soon as possible to give you some information. Basically, you're going to be reading this book to your children. There's 19 chapters. It is a unit study based around this specific novel. And if it goes well, they might even make more novel studies, which I would love. Some of my classics here, I got them on a table for you. Every lesson is kind of set up like this. In the front of their teacher's guide, it kind of shows you the elements of every lesson. So there's going to be a chapter summation, and every day you're going to begin with a chapter summary where somebody, maybe a child from your home, will come and tell the family about what chapter they read before and kind of describe it. It gives them a chance to do a little bit of narration, public speaking, to their family, and also reading comprehension and memory from what they read the day before. There's going to be you should know boxes, little information bits throughout. There's going to be predictions. After the summary, students have an opportunity to predict what they think will happen. So it just gets them more engaged in thinking about the story and asking questions. Then you're going to read from the book, and a lot of the reading is actually more in the book than the teacher's guide, because who wants to read a whole chapter and then have a whole bunch of reading in the teacher's guide? So there's a bit of shared reading there between here and the book. You must have the book. And then there's going to be discussion questions afterwards, and that's going to be before your kids get into the notebook. So if I can just give you guys an example of a lesson. Let's do chapter 4. So here we have a chapter summary of the day before that you can kind of use as a teacher once your kids are telling about the day before's lesson. And then we're going to have predictions. There's you should know boxes, so there's some reading here to do. There's some Bible there. And then we're going to read chapter 4 whenever you see this little book that I painted, this little hanging book sign. That's your sign to read the book. And then here we have a painting that I did as well. That's Julie carrying the chains for her friend. Anyway, and so you're gonna talk about the chapter, and then there's gonna be discussion questions here on the side. So that is basically, yeah, that's the end. So there's basically 3 teacher's guide pages that you go through, and that the reading in here will as well be your teaching time. So it's going to be like 15 to 20 minutes. The chapters aren't long. This is a pretty easy read too. So that's kind of how the teacher's guide is going to work. And then you have your notebooks, and I kind of like to give you guys a sneak peek into the different levels, just to show you the people who aren't familiar with Gather Round kind of sometimes wonder how on earth are we going to teach the same thing to kindergartners in high school. So I always like to show you guys and compare. It does tell you here what's in the student notebooks as well. They're going to do chapter summary notebooking, they're going to have vocabulary, comprehension review, and they're going to have a unit project. Students will choose a unit project, a character analysis, book report, or essay, or geography diorama to show what they have learned. So that's something that they're going to do all the time. If you've used Gather Round before, you know that every unit has some kind of special projects project that the kids are working on all month long. And there is a bit of hands-on stuff as well. Okay, so let's say we're doing lesson number 5, and in the teacher's guide you're going to go through, you're going to do your summation, and you're going to talk about the chapter, you're going to read the chapter for today, you're going to have your discussion questions with your kids, and then they're going to go to their notebooks. So let me show you what that looks like and how the notebooks are kind of leveled up. So in high school, they're going to have a notebooking page, they're going to talk about the plot and have some writing space there. They're also going to have vocabulary. On this particular lesson, we're going to be working on vocabulary with all of our kids. So they have their vocabularies, they're going to write what the words mean, they're going to write synonyms and antonyms. And then on the next page, they have this one here, and there's some prompts for writing journal entry. So that's what your high schooler is going to be doing in this mini unit. Now remember that mini units aren't all of your subjects except for math. They are mini units. They usually have a little bit more of a focus. This one's heavy on history, social studies, and language arts. For middle school, they're also going to have a similar looking notebooking page. They're going to be writing their definitions for their vocabulary words. They don't have synonyms and antonyms on their page. They also have a place here to do their journal entry as well. Upper elementary is going to have a notebooking page as well, some mapping that they're going to be doing, a question to answer, and on this side they're going to be filling in what words go with the definitions on their page. And then early elementary, they have their definitions here, and they are also going to be filling in the words for their definitions. They only have 4 instead of 5, and their words are listed up here. So they're more just looking at this list and finding out where they go down below. Early reader, which is what my grade 2 student does, he is going to be gluing definitions from the appendix and putting them beside the right words. And lastly, pre-reader, they usually will have a coloring page first, but once a week in this study, they're actually going to be putting chronologically some pictures in order that go along with the chapter that are just beautifully illustrated for you guys. And their second page is vocabulary to match words to pictures. All levels are going to touch on racism and slavery, courage, perseverance. They're all going to have a whole bunch of vocabulary words that they learn. They're all going to have language arts, geography, history, social studies, Bible. There's even a little bit of science in here, and there's art in here. So it is all in this unit here, and it's going to be super, super fun. Our family is planning on doing this mini unit beside our regular unit. We're still working on artists, so we're going to be doing our main artists unit, which is all your subjects about math, and we will be adding this in. So mini units are usually a little bit smaller than the main units and not quite as much work, so you can easily blend them together. And I clearly have a toddler beside me because she doesn't nap anymore. The only add-on piece that I have here that is an additional purchase, which is not necessary to do the unit, is the writing track. So yes, my book, where'd it go now? My book was an additional purchase. I paid for this all by itself. You need the book to do this. You do not need the writing track to do this unit, but this is an additional purchase that you can buy. What is it? It teaches your kids how to do a proper book report. It goes very in depth. There's 3 levels of difficulty that you can do it with, and like they'll have activities like this where it'll say like level 1, 2, 3. Rebecca did some videos, or a video a little bit more specifically about this, but specifically it's how to do a book report for this novel. So it is specific to this unit, and it's not necessary, but this was super handy. I'm super happy to have a copy of it. I'm not sure that we will do it for my early reader level, but I would definitely do it if my child was in like the early elementary, especially upper elementary and plus. Okay, lastly, I want to talk to you guys about printing, because we did order print last year, and then we bought this amazing Brother printer that's a laser printer. It was a really nice quality one, and so we've been printing our own. But I've just printed out some examples. So here's the cover, which I actually think it looks pretty good. It's a little heavy on the blues, but I love the way our printer prints. I think it's great. Here's another one from the book, which I also think is really great. And I think it's really great until I hold it up against this. And then I'm like, oh man, this one's prettier. So here's another one. Gather Round Print versus my high-end printer. So there is definitely a quality. It is cheaper for me to buy digital and print myself, but it's not that much cheaper. I have to pay for paper, I have to pay for ink, and I have to pay for some kind of way to bind it, and I have to pay for my time. I have found, surprisingly, that it's extremely time consuming to get PDFs and to print some of these books. There are lots and lots and lots of pages, and so I'm sitting around my printer and it's kind of like a big project to do. So just so you guys have a little bit of quality comparison when it comes to a good printer versus the print that comes from Gather Round Homeschool, it's something to consider. I am super delighted to treat myself once in a while to a print book from the company because it's super great. So I think that's all I have for information for you guys today. I really need to get going because this little miss really wants her mama back. And I just hope that this is useful for you, useful information. I know there's a lot of people that have questions because it's the first novel study. And so if you have a question, you can definitely leave a comment below. I will keep an eye on the comments in the next little while close to this date and see if I can answer what I can answer. I hope you guys have a great homeschool week, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
This one we have history and social, and this one we have. And lastly, pre-reader, they will usually have their first. Shh. Yeah, I see your book.
Hey.
Okay, you're drinking my tea.
Why?
I can no longer make YouTube videos with a napping child.